What's going on, guys? PXCam20 back in with a brand new video. Today we are here at Autopolis Speedway as we are here for the daily race A, as everyone kept asking me to do daily race A as we are in our Honda Fit Hybrid 2014 edition. And yeah, this was an interesting race that Polyphony put together, as Autopolis usually means for some really good racing, but if you put slower cars at Autopolis, it's usually kind of a ram fest because how steep the corners are, how much you have to brake before some of these corners, and how wide you can actually push the car out. So that's something that I kind of noticed here when coming to this race, was that it kind of is like bumper cars, or like how Vettel likes to say.
Honestly, what are we doing? Racing or ping pong?
So that's kind of my gist on this race, but we're gonna see what we can do here as we are starting in 8th place, as we didn't get a good qualifying lap. I was able to improve our qualifying lap a little bit further into the video, but for this race we are actually gonna be starting in 8th, so this is gonna either be really good or really bad, depending on how we can get out of here and avoid all the other cars on this race. So before we jump into the race, if you guys really enjoy the content, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video, as it really helps out the channel when you guys do so. Anyways, that's enough promoting myself. Let's jump straight into the race. As we now jump into the video here, again, we are starting in 8th place at our Autopolis International Racing Course, as this is going to be the shortened edition. It's not the long edition, so it's not a full course of Autopolis. So it's, I believe, cuts off basically the entire third sector, as these are slower cars, and if we would have had the entire race, it would have been like about 3-minute laps. But again, it's gonna be the short edition, so you guys will be able to see it right there as we are starting ourselves on the grid here, waiting for the 3 2 1. As we are waiting here to set our traction to 1, and we are a go now, as we are starting right behind the 2 Canadians, so, or actually 3 Canadians. So coming down the straightaway, leading us into turn number 1. We're gonna try to go to the radar here to try to get to the inside. As going into turn number 1, you want to stay right on the inside. If you go onto the outside, you run on the risk of getting pushed out wide and going straight into that gravel trap. So going right into turn number 1, you see the Canadian make contact ahead of us, and we almost made contact with him, as somehow we were able to avoid him. And fortunately, nobody was able to hit us from the behind, so that's really good for our sake, because if we would have got hit from behind, who knows where we would have gone. But coming into turn number 3 now, we're on the inside of one of the Canadians. We're trying to brake as late as we can, but you can see that he slams the door on us, goes very wide, almost made contact with the blue Canadian, and he's able to get a half a second penalty, and that should benefit us now when we go into the penalty zone, which is located on the front straightaway. So coming to this right-hander here, we come to the inside, we brake as late as we can, smash out a little bit of the Canadians, we make a little bit of contact here, but he's still got the better position on us, as he's gonna get a good run coming out of that corner and keep it onto the inside here, as we're on the outside coming to this left-hander. Going to the left-hander here, we're getting a little peek from the inside from the car behind, but we're able to cover him here as we get a better exit coming out of that left-hander. And the Canadian ahead of us is now going to have to serve his half a second penalty when we come to the straight start-finish line. So coming to the final corner here, you can see this is where they cut the track off. Instead of going to the left hand on that hairpin, you just go straight to the right, and it's another type of a hairpin. So the Canadian ahead of us actually goes a little bit wide going to the right-hander, and you can see that there's action going ahead of us as one of the cars goes off to the gravel trap, and that's a free position there, as the Canadian has to serve his penalty now on the straightaway. And we're able to get 2 positions here, as for some reason that black car was going very slow. I think he was one of the reasons why the yellow Honda went to the gravel trap. So we're able to get 3 positions in the span of 10 seconds there, as we are now promoted from 8th place to 5th place, as we head now into lap number 2 onto turn number 1. So going into turn number 1 on lap number 2, you can see that the Canadian goes very wide, goes into a gravel trap, and that's another free position for us now, as we're just going to do everything that we can to try to catch up to the 3rd place guy, as we are getting stalked from behind by the other Canadians. So coming into turn number 3 here, braking as late as we can. You can see on the radar on the bottom right that the car right behind us is gaining on us, as he's getting closer and closer to us, as we're trying to just hit all our lines, make sure that we shift where we need to shift, and avoid losing any time now as we're coming to the right-hander. So on the right-hander now, the Canadian behind us tries to take a little peek onto the inside, and actually worried me, as you can see how close he actually got to us on the radar. And we were able to luckily hold off our spot, as he wasn't close enough to make contact with us, as I think he was trying to get us loose, or maybe he just misjudged and misbraked his spot. But either way it would have resulted in him making contact with us and us losing our 4th place, as we're trying to catch up to the top 3 here and try to get a podium on this final corner now. So coming to the final corner, we're actually gaining time on them as we actually make a little bit of a mistake. We hit the rumble strip and it kind of shot us out wide, but we're able to get it back together as the car right behind us is still getting close to us, but we're able to pull away now as we come out of that corner and lead us into the straightaway. So coming to the straightaway here, we're heading towards turn number 1 again, as first and second have been going side by side and going at it for a while. So we're just waiting to see if anything's going to pop off from them. But when doing so, we are again about 2.1 seconds away from 3rd, 2nd, and 1st, as we're just focusing now on just hitting our lines and focusing on what the car behind us is going to try to do as we come into this fast right-hander. So again, coming to this little curvy spot that I really like honestly on the track. The car right behind us on the radar, you can see he's getting very, very close as we're coming to the right-handers. So coming to the right-hander, we defend our position, keep on to the inside, and luckily we're able to get a really good turn, as we weren't able to allow the car behind us to get too close to us in the middle of the corner. But coming out of the corner, we were able to kind of pull away, as you can see on the radar he is getting a little bit further. But coming to the left-hander here, he was able to get a really good entrance, and you can see how much that's going to help him out, as he's now on our back bumper. Gives us a little bit of a shunt there, and we go a little bit wide now as we're coming to the rumble strips. And we're just going to keep it onto the inside, shift onto the outside as we're pulling away just a tad bit, and we're going to try to see if we can hold off our spot. He tries to make it look onto the inside. We go take our spot, and we just take the normal racing line. He makes contact with us as he goes to the grass, gives us a little bit of a bump, and we are now going into the final lap, almost side by side, as he is still right behind us as we come into lap number 4. So coming to lap number 4, heading to the first corner again. First and second are still flip-flopping there, as we are still getting pressure from behind, and we go a little bit wide now as we touch the grass, and the car right behind us is trying to go onto the inside. He's forced into the inside as we try to hold our spot here. Going to the third corner, we're going to defend our line as we're going to keep it onto the right, but we're going to shift to the left as we were able to pull away a little bit, and he makes a little bit of contact with us. As you can see right ahead of us, the 2 red cars are off and onto the grass, and we're able to overtake one of them easily, as they both made a mistake. And not sure exactly what happened. I think both of them just made contact and went straight to the grass, as we are able to get a podium now as we're making a little bit of contact from behind. And you can see that the Canadians just pushed us out wide, so we're beating and banging with him now as he's able to overtake us and get the podium back away from us. And now we are demoted into 4th place, as we only have a few corners left to try to catch back up to the Canadian, try to make an overtake and get our podium here at a top list. So coming to the final few corners now, we're staying right behind the Canadian. He's right behind the American. What's going to happen here is he's been very, very aggressive with us, so is he going to try to send it here as we come to the final corner? We're trying to take a look onto the inside here, but you can see the Canadian brakes very, very late, makes contact with the American. The American's able to hold it together, and he looks like he's going to be able to hold off the seconds. We're just trying to do everything we can to get around this Canadian, but unfortunately we're going to be unable to, and we're going to finish this race in 4th place as the American decides to just spin out. I really don't like when they do that, but yeah, he ends up spinning out, and we finish this race in 4th place, 3 seconds behind the leader as we jump into our second race. So coming to our second race, we were able to improve our qualifying lap, so we were able to get it to a 35.8, but that was only good enough for 4th place for this lobby. We are starting right behind the 3 Americans, the Brazilian behind us, the Colombian, and the Canadian in 7th. So coming to the first corner, we're on the outside, which I did not want to be, but the Brazilian tries to take a look on the inside. He backs out of the move there, and we're able to hold off our 4th spot. As you can see right behind us, they're getting a little squirrely, and luckily we did not get punted out on the first corner, as first and second are just weaving left and right, trying to get into a spot. As we head into the third corner, you can see second is just trying to go all over the place, trying to get around that first place car, but luckily they get it under control, and we are able to all go into these corners without any incidents as we head into this hairpin. So jumping to the hairpin, trying to make a move onto the inside of the American as we're making a little bit of contact with him. We back out of there as he did get we made a little bit of contact with him. I didn't want to pass him, so slowing down a little bit here as we are not getting pressured by 5th place. He's on the inside of us as we're not heading to his left-hander, and that should be an easy position to us as he just swoops right in front of us. We have nowhere to go. We make a little bit of contact with him as we did have a car behind us, and the car behind us is now all over our back bumper. As you can see on the radar now, we're just trying to keep it onto the inside, defend our position, as we head into the final corner. So going up to the outside now as we head into the final corner, you can see that the car is able to try to squeeze his nose into the inside. We give him the space there as the Brazilian is now trying to make an overtake on the outside as we come out to this left-hander. But luckily we had the better momentum coming out of that final corner, and we're able to hold off our 5th place as we're now in the slipstream of the Colombian and just trying to stay with him to see if we can get a really good finish on this race. So on the straightaway here on lap number 2, the red car you can see is all the way on the inside, shifts all the way to the left, and we're gonna try to see what happens here as we come into the first corner. You can see the second car actually makes contact with the first red car, and the first red car is off and onto the gravel, and that's gonna be a free position for us now as we are now promoted into 4th place. And this is a really good situation for us now as we are just following the top 3 cars now into turn number 3. Going purple on the first sector as it is only the 2nd lap, so not sure why I'm happy to get a purple sector. You can see the gray car goes wide, hits the grass there as now him and the Colombian are going side by side as we're trying to make a move onto the outside here. And let's see if we can hold it as we come into the hairpin. Turning into the inside now as we come into the hairpin, we're able to brake very, very late and make the overtake after a costly mistake from that gray Honda. And we are now promoted into the podium as we're following this Colombian here on the final few corners. So heading to this left-hander here. Left-hander is a really, really fun corner for this car as all you have to do is just keep it onto the throttle and just focus on your steering. And you should be able to make it there easily without any incidents. But one thing that you do notice is that you have to rev this car a lot, and for some reason on that, off of that left-hander, the revs just come right back down, so it almost feels like you have to shift up. But if you do shift up, actually it does hurt your car. But you can see right behind us, someone gets sent out to the shadow realm, and that is a free open range for us. You can see how much of a gap we were able to get from 4th place because of that, as they're just banging right behind us. As again, this is not racing, this is ping pong for some of these guys here as we're heading to the final corners of the final lap. So we weren't able to catch up to the Colombian or the American, but luckily we were able to hold our position in 3rd place as we were able to gain a 4-second gap to 4th place, and we were just going to finish this race on the podium in 3rd place after starting in 4th. And very, very proud of this 3rd place as we were only a 2.9 away from 1st. So coming to our 3rd race and our final one, we are setting our traction control back to number 1 as we accidentally sent it to 2, but send it back to 0 as we are on the outside here. Did not get a good runoff off the line as we did accidentally put the traction control to 2, and you can see there's a car now on the inside of us as we're heading to turn number 1. Coming to turn number 1, we have the outside line as we get a little bit slammed from the right hand side, and we're straight into the gravel. And look at how much positions we lose as we are all the way down into 11th position because of that little slam. And unfortunately we weren't able to make up that many positions back up as we were only able to get back up to 9th place as a car ahead of us has a half-a-second penalty. But yeah, only able to make up 9th place as that you can see how much it actually affects you if you go off in the beginning of the race. Is you lose so many positions, and the rate that these cars are so slow, it's just so difficult to try to catch up to some of these guys, especially when you're racing side by side with the back marker. So finishing this race in 9th, we were supposed to finish this race in a good position as we were ranked number 2 on this lobby, and we did have a really good starting position, but unfortunately going into turn number 1, that incident happened. So hope you guys found this video very, very entertaining. If you guys did, please subscribe and leave a like on the video as it really helps out the channel when you guys do so. And again, if you guys found this video entertaining, I hope to see you guys on the next one. Peace out.